Alright, welcome back to part 3. As you can see, it just started, or something went terribly wrong, I'm not sure. I'm going to clean this cylinder up. Got my carb cleaned. Throttle's nice. Just going to clean up my cylinder. Inside you can see it's not the greatest in there. Got my gaskets and all that. A little bit thicker of a head gasket than I would have wanted, but that's fine. So let's get started. So because I got to do a deal at my house, I'm not sure if I'll be able to get this done today. So just in case, I'm gonna coat this cylinder in oil, stub some paper towels in there. That way it doesn't rust. That way I don't gotta clean it again, because you can see some's already in there. I should be able to get it off. It's nice and smooth. Just gotta dry it off before rust starts happening. So I killed 2 birds with 1 stone. You can see it's all oiled up in there. And I Scotch-Brighted this just a little bit, but I was able to Scotch-Brite this and make it super shiny. So I can cross those 2 things off my list. You can see this 250 cover had a broken little tab here, and that's the only place that it mounts except for 2 hooks, but those hooks don't do anything very good. So I JB welded this about 2 hours ago. It hasn't dried yet. So the air filter I have to do once everything's in. 250 cover, and I don't know, whenever it's done drying. Coat cylinder, that's done. Scotch-Brite, that's done. Piston and stuff. Can't do that. My dad wants me to wait, so I can cross off these things pretty soon, or just cross them out now. So I'll get back to you guys once I get the piston and that sort of stuff in. So while this bike is oil injected, this tank still has some crud in it after I cleaned it. So I'm putting mixed gas in here to get a coating on it so it doesn't rust as bad. Then I'm gonna shake it up, dump it out. So there will be some gas in there, but at least it's mixed with oil. Then eventually I'm gonna get this wrong ear tank and that right ear tank coated with something and cleaned thoroughly by a professional. But not yet, so. Alright, so as I was saying earlier in the previous videos, this case, like when I pushed it on, that shifter, we had replaced that shifter knob, that shifter thing, it wasn't correctly seated, so the case pressed up against it and the case bent, so now it's leaking a little bit of oil. I think that's probably after a few days. I do have another one of these cases that I'm going to replace once I bring it back to my house, but today we're just going to try and get it running. I'm going to put the carb on and the exhaust on, and we should be good. Oh, I got to torque down the top too. But it's all together, good compression, that's awesome. Alright, so I got my carburetor boots on. The only hard part now that I have is figuring out these throttle cables. I was messing around with them for about 2 hours, and I have another one somewhere. There should be another one. Yep, hanging right there. This got actually pinched off in the steering, so I do have to get a new one eventually. But you can see it probably just got pinched off right in that steering stop, so I'm gonna have to zip tie it out of the way. But I was having some carburetor troubles after I cleaned it, putting it back together, but I believe it's all springing back properly now. At least I can hope. So I'm gonna put this in. While I liked a lot of the designs of this bike, I really don't like the throttle design. I was tinkering with this for about an hour and got it pretty good. I did have to file down my bars up there because somebody crashed it and it was making it not return back. But it seems fine now, so, you know, it does, in fact, spring back most of the time. Gotta mess with that a little bit more, I guess. Look at that, we got everything on except for my tank and my air filter. That's awesome. It's gonna start up in a few minutes. I'm gonna try down.
Down is on.
Because my Suzuki is down,
Yep. So go ahead, try it.
Oh.
Getting close. I don't know which way you want it, but you're gonna have to burn that oil out of this thing too.
Yeah.
It's gonna smoke like crazy for the first couple seconds.
It's gonna be awesome. Okay, so as you could see there, it would only occasionally start up, and when it did, it would miss and do a bunch of bad stuff. And when it started up backwards. So when I put it into gear, it drove backwards. So what I'm gonna do is these 3 wires are pretty much all that I messed with. So I'm gonna try messing with those, and I'm also gonna try just cleaning up my plug and making sure it's got better spark. Pretty much just switching around these wires because it did sort of start up. So my guess was this wire, these 2 wires that I connected was a ground wire. I don't even know why, so I just switched these 2, just for the hell of it. You know, I don't really know what I'm doing. Nobody does unless they know the Suzuki's in this exact same engine. So I'm gonna put the tank back on and try and fire it up. Alright guys, so we got those 2 wires switched. So we're just gonna see what she does. Can't ride it too much because my air filter isn't on. And it's not even a good air filter that I have. Let's try this. Who knows? Hopefully it fixed the miss and starting up backwards. I just guessed and it worked. So now my clutch is not adjusted right one bit. So I'm gonna adjust that and then try and figure out something for my air filter. And I should be able to take it back to my house and ride it. Okay, so as you can see, it ran pretty good. I clean up these wires and figure out a real air filter before I bring it back home. Alright, so this is what I came up with. I don't think my cover will cover it, but it's an elbow piece coming out of there, connected right into this, so that'll work perfectly. So I'm just gonna tape this side up, and then hose clamp the other side. Alright, so I got that hose clamped in there. I just got a little tape seal going on in there because I was able to fit in with friction. But my cover should actually fit over it, which is awesome. So I'll be able to take it for a test spin here, make sure nothing's broken. Alright, so we're back at my house, and yesterday I told you guys it was running good, but I never got it up to throttle. And now, after I cleaned the carb again, did some other things, doesn't run great. It has a little bit of a dead spot, but you can kind of change it depending if you have the choke on and off, depending if it's hot, if it's cold, or how much throttle you give it at once. Like slowly it's good, like immediately it's bad. So what I have here is the carb rebuild kit from my dad's bike that the dude did, and the old throttle cables just in case I break mine. So what we're gonna do is there's one thing that we didn't clean on that. We cleaned the main jet, but we didn't clean where the needle comes down into the main jet. So we were gonna clean that and look at the different jets on that. And if none of that works, what we were gonna do is switch these carbs around just to make sure it's the carb and nothing else. Because the only thing we changed in the engine is the reeds, but I doubt it's that. So what we found is that it was a little bit too lean, so we moved it up one past the middle. So now what I'm gonna do is try it. If it doesn't work, I'm gonna switch it out with the other carb. So I tried to do so much and none of it worked, so I'm just gonna kind of say screw it and switch out the carb with the 76 TS that we have. This is my 78.